Hi, I'm Kat, and this is 10 minutes long. I did a video before talking about moving, whilst I was also packing up my bookcase, and I wasn't really all that satisfied with it, to be honest, because there were things that I kind of like wanted to cover and just didn't end up covering. So I thought, well, I haven't finished the bookcase. My partner's currently asleep, so I haven't gone to get more boxes, but I thought I can pack up this corner whilst kind of like finishing off what I was trying to say. Apologies for any noise in the background, it's just started to get windy, so we might get that famous woo going on, in which case, just shoot me now. So anyway, I'm going to start packing this stuff up, but in my last video I talked a little bit about kind of like affording a property and like having to scrimp and save for that. Just to add to that as well, like the property I bought wasn't very expensive. Like I was initially thinking that we might have to spend up to like 200,000, but I found one for 130,000. So a lot of it comes down to tempering your expectations in terms of what you can get. Like the property wasn't as big as I thought the property I would buy would be, but literally that was like as much as I could afford. Maybe if I'd waited a bit, maybe got a job, pay more money, or something like that, then maybe I could have spent more. But like I'm quite happy with the house that I got in the end, you know, but I was quite realistic in terms of my budget, you know. I didn't think, oh, I need to spend more, or like that was it. And you know, the mortgage is all on me, so it's all on how much I earn. That was as much as like I was at the limit of what I could take financially. So that's, I guess, another thing to do with the expense. I suppose something else, I have done some work around here lately, so everything is just like falling down. It's usually a little bit more, you know, tidy than this, but anyway. So the actual process then is that first of all you go and look at houses and find one that you like the look of, and once you've done that, you tell the letting agent or the seller or whatever that that's the one you want. I don't know how this fits in here. That's the one you want, and they put forward the offer to the person selling it, basically saying you've had an offer on the property. And that's fine. The seller can basically accept or reject your offer depending on what they feel. You know, so if they feel like you're lowballing them, you know, because you don't have to offer what they've asked, then they can reject your offer. But for me, I actually, you know, offered the asking price because the property looked in pretty good condition, and there was already somebody else there looking at it when I went to view the property. So I thought, if I don't get in there, there's a chance that I'll lose it. And I'd already spent a month looking at properties and being told no, so I just wanted to get in there. So once you've made your offer, the kind of process kicks off. If the seller accepts your offer, then the next stage then is for you to kind of speak to your mortgage provider and say, I found somewhere. And then that's really down to them to go through with you go through all the bits and pieces for your mortgage. They might charge you for the mortgage, they might charge you for the product itself, the actual mortgage product. So you've got kind of all that to go through as well. Once you've finished with the lender, or like whilst that's going on, they also recommend that you get a survey, which they will pay for. No, they don't pay for it, you pay for it, but they request it. So there are 3 different levels of survey that tell you whether the house is in good condition or not. So before the survey happens, your mortgage lender tells you, this is how much we can lend to you, these are any conditions set out on the mortgage, this is your interest rate, blah, 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 blah. They go through all of that, and then they do the survey, and then the survey might change what they actually offer you in the end. So if they do the survey and find that there is some like damp that needs to be fixed or something like that, then they might just say, actually, we're not going to give you the mortgage for the full price of the house. We're gonna say it's only worth this amount and will only lend you that amount because this needs doing to it. So it's important, I think, like I got the lowest form of survey, which is always tempting to do because it's cheaper. But I kind of wish that I'd gotten the more in-depth one. It was just because the lower one, I was kind of like, well, if there's anything like major wrong with it, then it'll mess the mortgage up. And you know, it's just like it's a stone property. Like there isn't a lot that can go wrong with it. Like it's already like 150 odd years old or something. So, you know, just from my own experience, I knew that it wasn't massively worth going into more detail. But if I had gone into more detail and they'd found maybe issues with the electric or something like that, then, you know, that would have been addressed there and then, and the seller would have been instructed to knock money off in order to, you know, meet the mortgage valuation. Anything that's kind of requested by the mortgage in terms of being fixed kind of has to be dealt with by the seller, really. So when I did mine, it came back saying that there was some damp work that needed being done, and that it wasn't worth the value that they'd said. So we got a new survey based on the damp to find out where the damp work was, what needed doing to it. Got a quote for fixing that of about £1,200. And then we went to the seller and said, look, this is the thing, can you reduce the price? So the seller reduced the price by that much. In the meantime, the mortgage company came back to me and went, oh no, it's fine, we'll give you the full amount. And it was like, but he's reduced the price now. So then all of those documents had to be produced again. I can't even tell you how many like credit searches and mortgage calls I went through at that stage. There was a lot. So anyway, once you've finished your mortgage and you've gone through all of that stage, you then kind of need to get a conveyancer on board, which you should be kind of doing whilst the mortgage thing is going through. And the conveyancer then sort of like does their own thing. They mostly tell you to like leave them alone. So they do searches, so they find out if there's any like environmental concerns with the property, or, you know, any like legal bits and pieces that you need to know about. And they also handle the money side of things, so you tell them who your mortgage company are, and they deal with like the money elements. They'll come back to you and let you know if there's anything you need to be aware of. So for us it was like, oh, there's a covenant but we can't find the covenant because the council lost it. You know, there's like an unmarked road around the back of the property, but you're not responsible for that, but you should know that it's unmarked. There's a sewer line running across the front of the property, but to the best of everybody's knowledge it's never broken or flooded. So it's like stuff like that the conveyancer comes back with, and if they know anything that is troublesome, then you've got a chance to speak to the letting agent about that, who will then send your message to the seller because you can't talk to the seller. For me, the conveyancing was pretty straightforward. There wasn't like anything massive. For me, the biggest issue was that, as I said in my previous video, the seller told us there wasn't a chain, and there was a chain, and then his chain fell through, and then he bought a tenanted property that he had to wait 2 months for the tenant to move out of. And we only found that out when I said to the letting agent, do you think we might be able to move in before Christmas? Because at that point we'd been going through the process for nearly 3 months. And I was like, oh, surely we're getting close, you know, the conveyancer's done with her bits. And then she was just like, oh, actually what's happened is this. And I was just like, when was I going to find this out? Like, what? So that was quite stressful. Anyway, once the conveyancer's done everything, it's a case of just waiting for the exchange of contracts. So there's a lot of stuff to sign, a lot of paperwork to fill in. And once you've done that, the contracts are exchanged, which means that it's legally binding that you are buying the house, that nobody can pull out at that stage. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Once you get to that stage, it's just waiting for completion, which is like for all of the money to change hands. So you would give your deposit to the conveyancer, and once they have your deposit, they draw down your mortgage funds, so you never ever see that money in your bank, which is good because I think I probably hyperventilate if you did. So they draw down your mortgage funds, and then they arrange for all the money to change hands, and once they've done that you can go and pick up the keys. So that is the kind of like selling bit in a nutshell, but as I've said, it's not really all that smooth, you know. It's kind of like that, the theory behind it is sound, but actually doing it is another thing entirely. So anyway, that is how to buy a house. This has been 10 minutes long. See you next time.